What if the smartest people don't disappear because they dislike others? What if they step away because they finally understand something about human nature that most people never see? Have you ever ignored a text, avoided small talk, or suddenly felt distant from people who used to be a big part of your life? If so, you're far from alone. Sometimes walking away isn't about arrogance or loneliness. It's about seeing the world and the people in it in a completely different way. Psychologists have discovered that as self-awareness grows, people become much more intentional about where they spend their time, attention, and emotional energy. What looks like someone disappearing is often a quiet transformation happening beneath the surface. In this video, you'll uncover the hidden psychological reasons why highly intelligent people gradually pull away from others, and why the final reason changes the way you'll see human behavior forever. The first reason has nothing to do with arrogance. It has everything to do with awareness. At first, life feels ordinary. Your friends make you laugh, conversations feel genuine, and you naturally trust what people say because you've never had a reason to question it. Then, little by little, something begins to change. While most people simply listen to words, intelligent people start noticing patterns. They begin reading people's actions, motives, and behaviors, and once you see those patterns, it's almost impossible to ignore them. You start noticing the little details that most people never pay attention to. A smile that looks genuine but never reaches someone's eyes. A compliment that sounds supportive but hides quiet envy. A friend who only calls when they need something. Someone who cheers for you until you actually start succeeding. Once your mind begins picking up these patterns, it's incredibly hard to ignore them. Psychologists refer to this as pattern recognition. As your experience and self-awareness grow, your brain becomes better at connecting behaviors that once seemed completely unrelated. Suddenly, the people around you haven't changed, but the way you see them has. That's where the distance begins. Not because intelligent people stop caring about others, but because they stop mistaking attention for real connection. From that point forward, they become much more intentional about who they let into their lives. They realize that protecting their peace is far more valuable than trying to win everyone's approval. But that's only the beginning. What happens next is even more unexpected. Intelligent people don't pull away because they love being alone. They pull away because constant noise, small talk, and surface-level interactions eventually become mentally draining. Psychologists have found that people with greater self-awareness often process conversations, emotions, and social situations much more deeply than others. While most people simply hear what's being said, they pay attention to what's left unsaid. While others stay focused on the moment, they quietly notice the patterns behind people's behavior. Over time, that awareness changes the way they experience relationships. Conversations that once felt exciting begin to feel repetitive. Friendships that once seemed balanced start revealing cracks. Even being surrounded by people can leave them feeling completely alone. This doesn't mean they believe they're better than everyone else. It simply means they no longer find real fulfillment in shallow connections. Instead of asking, "How many people know me?" they start asking, "Who truly knows the real me?" That one question quietly transforms their entire social life. The more someone values honesty, depth, and authenticity, the more naturally their circle becomes smaller. That's why highly intelligent people sometimes seem to disappear overnight. In reality, they had been slowly letting go of the wrong relationships long before anyone noticed. And what happens next is why so many people misunderstand them. Psychologists believe that until we become aware of what's happening inside our own minds, we'll keep assuming that life is simply happening to us. Intelligent people eventually begin to see something different. They realize that many people's reactions aren't driven by reality. They're driven by fear, insecurity, and emotions they haven't faced. The person who constantly criticizes you may not actually dislike you. They may be struggling with feelings of envy as they watch you grow. The person who keeps interrupting you may not be trying to dominate the conversation. They may simply not know how to truly listen. And the person who constantly seeks your attention may be carrying a quiet fear of being overlooked. Once you begin recognizing these emotional patterns, something changes. You stop taking every comment personally. You stop draining yourself trying to fix people who have no desire to grow. Instead, you become much more intentional about protecting your peace of mind. That's not emotional distance, it's emotional intelligence. Psychologists describe emotional intelligence as the ability to understand both your own emotions and the emotions of others without letting those feelings control your choices. That's why intelligent people don't argue over everything, respond to every message, or hold on to every relationship. Not because they don't care, but because they've learned that saying yes to the wrong people often means saying no to their own well-being. And once that lesson truly sinks in, life begins to change in ways most people never expect. Here's the biggest misconception of all. Many people assume intelligent individuals enjoy being alone because they dislike others. The reality is almost the opposite. They don't fall in love with loneliness. They fall in love with clarity. For the first time, silence no longer feels empty. It becomes a space where they can hear their own thoughts without being drowned out by other people's opinions and expectations. Modern psychology suggests that healthy periods of solitude can strengthen self-reflection, improve emotional control, and lead to better long-term decisions. That's why highly self-aware people don't fear being alone. They use that time to recharge, think clearly, and reconnect with themselves instead of constantly searching for attention. While the world is busy chasing distractions, they're quietly building a stronger mind. They read more, they reflect more deeply, and little by little they become the person they were always capable of becoming. They begin questioning their own beliefs instead of automatically accepting the opinions of everyone around them. And over time, something remarkable happens. They no longer depend on validation from people who never truly understood them in the first place, because real confidence isn't built on applause or approval. It's built on self-respect. That's the moment everything starts to change. They stop asking, "How do I fit in?" and begin asking, "Am I living a life that's true to who I really am?" Once that question takes hold, there's no turning back. To everyone else, it may seem like they've disappeared, but the truth is, they've finally stopped losing themselves, and the final reason reveals why this shift transforms every relationship they have. Here's what most people never realize. Highly intelligent people rarely disappear all at once. They step away one realization at a time. One day they stop arguing with people who have no interest in understanding them. Another day they stop chasing friendships that only exist when they're useful to someone else. Then, without seeking attention or making a big announcement, they quietly begin creating a life that no longer depends on constant approval. From the outside, it looks sudden, but on the inside, that decision has been growing for months, sometimes even years. This is where so many people misunderstand them. They assume intelligent people become distant because they believe they're better than everyone else. The reality is much simpler. They become far more intentional about where they invest their time, attention, and emotional energy. Because time is limited, mental energy is limited, and the people you spend your life with quietly shape the person you eventually become. So if you found yourself pulling away from certain people lately, don't be so quick to assume you're becoming antisocial. Instead, ask yourself a more important question. Are you running away from people, or are you moving closer to the life that's truly right for you? Sometimes the people who seem to disappear aren't lost at all. They're finally discovering who they really are. And maybe that's exactly where your next chapter begins. If this video changed the way you see other people, or even yourself, be sure to subscribe to Psynova Theory for more psychology-based videos that uncover the hidden patterns behind human behavior. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever quietly stepped away from someone's life, or has someone unexpectedly disappeared from yours? Share your experience in the comments. I read as many as I can. Until next time, stay curious, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.